Okay, good evening. Last night of Hanukkah. Wishing all of you a lichtig Hanukkah. Our schedule is going to be a little unique this week for two reasons. First of all, on Tuesday night, much deserved, my parents are being honored at the Fastman Yeshiva High School dinner after nearly 4 decades of service and for not failing me in your chemistry class, both of those things. A lot of tutoring. I still remember that there's something called the octet rule, but that's about the limits of my chemistry. And you should not feel that I fell too far from the tree on this one, but I did fail organic chemistry in college. So I'm very proud of that. Second of all, I'm not going to be here this coming Shabbos. I'll be in a Shabbaton in the Hilton of Northbrook with Upward Community with my wife's organization. So what we're going to do is as follows. Today is a blot. Today is a blot. Tomorrow is a blot. Tuesday morning is a blot, but not Tuesday night. Wednesday and Thursday are 1.5 blot. Friday morning is a blot, and then nothing on Shabbos. And if you'd like to deviate and rebel and cheat and go somewhere else for a shiur, that's not nice.
What about the stan? The stan can say shiur on Shabbos.
All right, so here we are. We're on Daf Chav Gimel Amid Aleph. We're in the middle of some of the most famous Agadatas in all of Shas, Choni Magel, all the crazy stories. The 70-year nap is in today's Daf Yomi. So we have a lot of important Gemaras to see tonight. And just to say with clarity, I without all of the research, I don't know the depths and the amkus of all of these Gemaras. It takes some research and some time, and there are many layers, but let's get started nevertheless. So we had started out with the famous story in our Mishnah that Choni Magel was approached because there was no rain, and he drew a circle. Now we're going to see a brisa that actually expounds on that dialogue a little bit more. 12 lines down, Chav Gimel Amid Aleph, at the Tudat Tan Rabban, the rabbis taught us. Most of Adar passed without any rain. Shalchu l'Choni Magel, so they went to the person who they knew could solve problems. He's palel v'yardu geshamim. They said to him, you should daven and you should make sure that it rains. So he's palel v'lo yardu geshamim. He tried, but it did not work. Says the Gemara, Aguga, he drew a circle. In addition, that we didn't see in our Mishnah, Habakkuk had apparently done the same thing, but Habakkuk was a Navi. Says the Gemara, Shenema al mishmarti emdavi siyatzival matzor. It's a drasha on the pasuk. It's not so clear in the pasuk that that's the case, but nevertheless, that's what the Gemara says was happening with Habakkuk, and Choni Magel was copying him. Amar lefana ribono shalom. Vanecha samu pneim alai. Shani keben ba'is lefanecha. They've turned to me because it's as if I am a regular by you. Nishba ani b'shimcha. I make a promise in your name. I am just not willing to tolerate it. You will be merachem on your children, and I'm going to stand here until then. So it started to drizzle. So then, and here's more color that the Mishnah didn't have. The Talmidim of Choni Magel said, Rebbe, we see what's going to happen over here, but we don't want to die. It seems to be that a Kodesh Baruch Hu is just trying to chap a rein. You made a shvua, fine, so right, now your shvua is done, but you haven't solved any problems. So therefore, Choni Magel said, you're right, Amar, last short line. Lo kach shalti, says to a Kodesh Baruch Hu, that wasn't what I asked for. El gishme boros shichin u'me'aros. I need enough rain to fill the cisterns so people can drink. Then all of a sudden, Kodesh Baruch Hu swings the pendulum. Yardu b'zaf, ashikol tipa kimolo pichavis. The rain started falling such that each drop of water was the size of a barrel. V'shiaru chachamim she'en tipa pchusa milug. Not one of the drops of rain was less than a log, which is a significant volume of liquid. Amrlo, Talmidav, they said, Rebbe, that's too much. We see that you've gotten something done here, but we don't want to die. It's too much water. It seems from here that a Kodesh Baruch Hu wants to flood the world. A little bit difficult because we have a pasuk in Chumash that says that won't happen. The Kasha and the Maisa says the Gemara halfway down, 2 lines into the wide lines. Amar Lefanav, so Choni Magel goes back to Kodesh Baruch Hu. That's not what I asked for. We need to have ratzon, the rain that is of desire, that is of blessing, and that is of goodness to give to the Jews. Yardu Ketikna, then finally it came down at the right rate. However, it was on for a very long time. Alu Kol Ha'am Lahar Habayis. Of course, we know the Beis HaMikdash is built on a very high property. This is halacha l'maisa, that in communities that aren't flat as our community is, that we do try to build a shul on the highest physical property, as the Beis HaMikdash was built back in the day. Anyways, they went to the highest ground. Amrulo, they said, Rabbi Kishim, she's palalta shiur. Just like you davened that the rain should come down, now kachis palel v'yelchu lahem. You need to daven to that the clouds will go away, because otherwise we're going to all drown. Amar lahem, Choni Magel says, kach mekublani, I have a tradition. tradition. We don't daven on things that are very good. Nevertheless, he rejected his tradition. His tradition was not to daven on Rov Tova. However, they said, bring me a par for Hodah, a cow for which I can give thanks to Hashem. These Jews that you took out of Mitzrayim, your people. How true is that? We're not good when we have all the good, and we're also not good when we have all the bad. We just want to be in the middle. We don't need to be the most affluent generation, and we don't want to be the most afflicted generation. We just want to be regular people. So it says the Gemara, the Jews are not good with that. When you get angry at them, they can't handle it. When you give them too much good, they also fail. Therefore, here's Choni Amagel's tefillah, 6-7 lines into the wide lines. May the rain stop and may there be space in the world, meaning may there be revach, may there be benefit in the world. Miyad, immediately, this total control, it's unbelievable. Wrap, ki'ilu, lahavdil, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is wrapped around his finger, and whatever he says goes. Miyad nishba haruach, the wind blew the clouds away, v'nispazru ha'avim, the clouds went away, v'zarcha ha'chama, the sun came up, v'yatsu am l'sadeh, and they went out into the field, and then they went and they were able to pick up mushrooms and truffles that were growing on the ground, things that can grow quickly with the water that was present. But Shalach Lo Shimon ben Shetach, this is ridiculous. That was a chilul Hashem. He says, if not for the fact that you were choni, I would have put you into cherem. That was not right what you did. If the years were like the years of Eliyahu, that he was in charge of the rain, then with what you just did, wouldn't that be a chilul Hashem? After all, what did you do? You said that it's my Masorah to not daven on Rov Tova, and you davened on Rov Tova. That's not right. You're not supposed to do that. What can I do? He asks with a bite in his voice. So he says to him, that's not right. Shimon ben Shetach says, you do things wrong in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because you're a ben bias. So when the child does something wrong, youngest child, they get away with murder in the house. No problem. You wanna rebel against me? That's fine. I'll still do what you want. But Omer lo abba, I want to be taken to hot water. The son says to the father, Shatfeni b'tzonin, I want to be rinsed off in cold water, like a melech. It's like a melech, anything that he wants, he gets. It goes him, I'd like to have nuts, I'd like to have almonds, I'd like to have peaches and pomegranates, and he gives him banos and gets everything. And this pasuk is quoted in our Mishnah, end of story of Choni Hamagel davening, and that he did something seemingly wrong in the eyes of Shimon ben Shetach, yet nevertheless, because he was a ben bias, the Kodesh Baruch Hu tolerated his error. This is a beautiful hashkafa for us to embrace. If we're a ben bias by Kodesh Baruch Hu, he'll absorb our chatoim. It's okay. He'll accept them. And that's a beautiful place to be. We have to experience that. We have to feel that way and grow there. It's not simple to get there, but that is the message of the Gemara, 2/3 of the way down, almost halfway into the wide lines, Tana Rabbanan. What was going on as it related to the Lishkas Agazis? What did the Sanhedrin think about Choni Hamagel? So some psukim says the pasuk reads with Sigzar Omer v'kayim lach al derechecha naga. Or what does this pasuk mean? The Sigzar Omer, what does that mean? Ata gazarta milamata you Choni Hamagel, make a gzera down below. V'kadosh baruch hu mekayim amarcha lamala. That's what the pasuk means, that you are able to say something here and affect change up there. What's the rest of the pasuk? Val derechecha noga. Or dor shahaya efel, a generation that was very dark. Ha'arta v'tfilasecha. You were able to brighten with your tfilos. And then the pasuk continues. Ki hishpilu vatomer geva. V'shach einayim Yoshia. So let's see what this means. Kishpilu v'atomer geva dor shahaya shafel higbata b'tfilasecha. You raise the generation geva. Play off the word hagba. You raise them up with your tefillah. V'shach, the downcast einayim Yoshia dor. But the downcast eyes will be raised, will be saved by will be Yoshia. Excuse me, comma. Dor sheshach ba'avono hoshata b'tfilasecha. A generation in which they are downcast in their sins, you're able to elevate them. What does the next part of the pasuk mean? Yimaleit inaki v'nimlat bevor kapecha. So it says the Gemara, Yimaleit inaki dor shelo haya naki milat to b'tfilasecha. A generation that was not clean, they had averas. You were able to save them with your tefillas. You enabled rain when it wasn't deserving. V'nimlat bevor kapecha. What does that mean? Malat to b'maaseh yadecha haberur, and your hands were very clean. You had no sin. You were a big tzaddik, and you were able to generate all of this change. Next piece. I'm Rabbi Yochanan, about 20 lines or so from the bottom of the page. Chaf Gimel Amud Aleph.
You're referring about?
I'm sorry?
Which generation that wasn't innocent?
This is the generation that he lived in. We're talking about by the Churban, end of Churban Rishon, bridging to Churban Bayis Sheni, as we'll see soon in the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Kol Yamav Shel Osa Tzadik. All of the years, Rabbi Yochanan says of Choni Amagel, Hay Mitztar Al Nikra Zeh, trouble with this pasuk that we say regularly. Shir Amalis B'Shuv Hashem Es Tzion Haynu Kecholmin. That for all of that time, it was like dreaming for Shivas Tzion. So this is referring to the time between Beis Hamikdash number 1 and Beis Hamikdash number 2, which was only a relatively short amount of time. It was Haynu Kecholmin. Amar, he says, Mi'ika Denaim Shivin Shnin Bechelma. Is there such a thing as dreaming for 70 years, for sleeping for 70 years and dreaming? Yom Achad, the Gemara tells the famous story. Hava Azal Ba'orcha was walking on a way. He was planting a carob tree. Carob trees are known to take a very long time to bear fruits. Amarle, hi, this particular carob tree, ad kama shnin tain. How long does it take to bear fruits? Amarle, ad shivin shnin. Takes about 70 years. Amarle, pshita lach techayis shivin shnin. You're so confident you're going to live another 70 years. You're obviously old enough to talk to me. Let's say you're 20. The life expectancy back in the day was not exactly 90. Says the Gemara, Amarle, Hai Gavra, Alma, Becharuva Ashkachli. A whole world can be found in a carob tree. What does this mean? He planted for me, I'm going to plant for my son. Oh, fine. Yosef Kakar Chrifta, and then Choni went to go eat. Asa Lishinta, all of a sudden, this tiredness, it's like the Friday night tiredness, just overtook him. And then he went to sleep. And then all of a sudden, things changed around him, and some rocks grew around him, and he was hidden from sight. It took a 70-year nap. Says the Gemara, when he finally woke up, 8-9 lines from the bottom, he looks at the same carob tree, he hadn't moved far, looks at the same carob tree that's now fully grown and bearing fruits, and someone's plucking fruits from it. Amar le, atu dishalte, were you the one who planted this tree? Amar le, no, bar bere ana, 2 generations. I'm the grandson of the person who planted this tree. Amar le, shma mina denai me shivin shneim. Wow, it must be that I slept 2 generations, or I slept 70 years. Where does 70 come from? Not clear from the Gemara how he got to 70, but he slept 70 years. Chazu lechamre, and he saw that the donkey that it had multiple generations of other animals that was bore from it. Azalabese went to his house. Amar lehu. Berei de Choni Amagel Mikaim. He said to the people who live there, is the son of Choni Amagel alive? We'll see what that person's name is soon. It's going to be Abba Chilkiah. They said to him, no, Berei Leisa, your son is no longer, they didn't know who he was, but they said, Berei Leisa, your son is not alive. Bar Berei, but his grandson is alive. Amar Lu, Ana Choni Amagel. They said, it's me. It's me, 70 years missing child. It's been on the milk carton for 70 years. So what did they say? Lo hem nuhu. No way. Nobody believed him. It's not possible. You've been gone for 70 years. It's not possible. Azal beis hamedrash, goes to the beis medrash. Shaminu leRabbanon, he hears that the rabbis Zika Amre, and they were saying as follows, and here in Shmaitis, in this sugya is so clear as it was, kibishnei Choni Amagel, like it was back in the day with Choni Amagel. Tichi have a beis medrash, when Choni Amagel was there, kol kushit havalahu leRabbanon, any shaila that the Rabbanon had, have a mafaraklu, he could answer everything, just mamish everything on his fingertips. Amarlu ananihu, that's me, I'm back. Lo hemnuhu, they did not believe him, nor would anybody else most likely after 70 years, because nobody knew you to know the nuance of your face, and then nobody knew you. How many people are alive that would remember? And it's been so long. Nobody treated him in the way that he anticipated he should have been treated, and he deserved rightly. Not that he was about gaiba, the last thing from it. In fact, tefillah is niskabel more when a person's an anav than when they're about gaiba. They have to know a certain dependency on HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the way real davening works. We can discuss that another time. Anyways, cholash daite, he was very upset by it. And this is a very difficult line. By rachme v'mis. So he davened for rachmim and he died. You allowed to do that? Seems to be. Omar Rava, hainu da'amri inshi, o chavrusa, o misusa. What?
He's davening for mercy, and the result was that he died. So that mercy was his death.
Mm-hmm. That's what the Gemara says. It's not me talking.
If he davened for mercy, did he daven for death?
The Gemara seems to say that he davened for mercy. Boy rachamim.
Mercy was his death. He couldn't take.
What's the rachamim? Is that rachamim? I'm just. These are halachic shilas of euthanasia and like asking for what's it called, medically assisted suicide or whatever the language is. What? Kevorkian. It's not simple, but it's a pella. The Gemara is difficult. And it poses some important halachic and hashkafic questions. As long as the neshama is in the body, there should be merit there. There should be merit for having the neshama in the body. That we've already discussed this, that it's better to be alive with tsaros because it earns a person a brighter olam haba, not simple. And that's what Rava says 5 lines from the bottom. Wow, this gives a whole new spin on the casual use of the phrase O chavrusa o misusa, which is no literally, Choni Amagel says, I'd rather die than not be part of the Chevra in the Beis Medrash. And that was very, very hard for him. Notice that this Gemara of him requesting Rachamim was not about his family. It was after he left the Beis Medrash. So just a unique placement of the Gemara, and that is the Gemara's of the famous Gemara of O chavrusa misusa. And then his son, the grandson, Abba Chilkiah, Bar Berei de Choni Amagel, Hava, he was the grandson of Choni Amagel. When the world in that generation, this is 2 generations later, let's call it 70 years later, when they needed rain, Hava Mishadri Rabbanim Legabe, they would send Chashava Rabbanim to the house of Abba Chilkiah. Legabe, and then he would normally daven, and the rain would come. Zimna Chada. One time it happened, the world needed rain. So Shadu Rabbanan Zuga the Rabbanan Legabe. The rabbi sent a pair of rabbis to him. They said he should that Abba Chilkiah, the grandson of Choni Amagel, should daven for some rain to bring some rain. So Azul Lebeise v'lo Ashkechu, they went to his house, they didn't find him. Azul Bedabra, they went on into the fields. The Ashkechua to have a karafik, and he was tilling the land. He was tilling the land. So fine, Yavule Shlama. They said Shalom Alecha Rebbe Umori, and very strangely, Velo Aspar Le Ape. He didn't show him his face. We know, like the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, every Makabel is called them said Panim Yafos. What happened to the greats? Why wasn't he showing proper kavod just as a normal? Aleichem Shalom, just say something. So he didn't do that. We'll see why later in the Gemara. Vipanya, toward the end of day when he was ready to go home, Ki have a minkat sivi, when he picked up the wood that he had chopped that day. So then Dorat sivi umar b'chad katva, he carried the wood and the tilling tools on one shoulder, the glima b'chad katva, and a particular piece of clothing on his other shoulder. He's walking like this, and his right shoulder, on one of his shoulders, he's carrying wood and tools. On the other shoulder, he's carrying separately a coat. Kula orcha lo sayim misane. For the whole path, he wasn't wearing shoes except for kimata lamai when he got to the water. Then he finally put on shoes. Sayim misane. Then he put on his shoes. Kimata lehizmi vihigi. When he got to thorns and thistles, when he got to the bushes that were likely to catch on his clothes. So delinhu lemane. He rolled up his tunic so that his clothes wouldn't get caught. Kimata lemasa. When he got to the city, nafka debisu leape. His wife came out of the house to greet him. Kimikshata, and she was all dressed up, all dolled up, looked fancy. And then kimata lebese. When he got to his actual house, like to the door, he saw his wife from afar. When he actually got to the door, alas debisu bireisha, his wife went in the house first. V'hadar ayil ihu, and then he went in, and v'hadar ayle rabbanan, and finally the rabbis were led into the house. Yosef v'karach rifta, and then he and his wife and his family were sitting down to dinner. It's good to have dinner with your family. Yosef v'karach rifta v'lo amar lehu l'rabbanan, and he didn't say to his guests, tu kruchu, come sit and eat with me. He didn't say a word to them. Palag rifta liyanuke, he broke up bread and gave out to his children. The kshisha chada, as it related to the kids, the older ones got 1 unit of bread, ulezutra tray, and the younger children got a double portion. Well, what's going on with that? If we were like trying to mimic what we normally know for the older child by Yerusha, he gets double. This isn't Yerusha, but what's going on here? We'll see shortly. Amar Lala debisu, he said to his wife, whispering, Yadana de Rabbanan mishum mitra ka'asu. I know that they're coming because of the rain. It's been a drought. I kind of anticipated they'd knock on the door. Nesak le'egrav ani bayrachame. Let us, both of us, go up to the roof while they won't see us. And we'll daven on our own. Efshar, maybe to Meratzi HaKadosh Baruch Hu, maybe we can generate ritzvah with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Yesi Mitra, we could bring about rain, and they won't be dependent on us. They won't show Akaras HaTov to us. That's what they'd prefer. They don't want to be in the limelight. It's awkward a little bit. Like you're the guy, like they knock on your door. Hey, it hasn't rained. Everybody's suffering. Can you please solve our problem? So he would rather it be solved in what seemed to be more of a natural way. So let's see what happens. A quarter of the way down, 12, 15 lines down, Sakul Igra, husband and wife, Abba Chilkiah and his Rebbetzin go up to the roof. He was in one corner of, let's assume, a square roof, just for argument's sake. He was in one corner, she was in the opposite corner. All of a sudden, clouds started to generate on her side of the corner, and then the rain started. Okay, kinachis, they came down from the roof. Amar lahu, he said to the rabbis, "Amai asu rabbanan, chashava rabbanan, why are you here?" Amar lei, shadre lan rabbanan, the rabbis from the base medrash sent us legabe demar to come to you, lemeboy rachamei mitra, so that you can daven for us on the rain. So the whole ruse seemed to be working well so far. Amar lahu says to them, "Perfect, you didn't even need me. Baruch hamakom, thank you Hashem. Shelo hitzrich eschem la'Abba Chilkiah. You guys didn't even need me. I'm useless." It was almost self-deprecating in a way that he wasn't the one who caused it, because he didn't want them to say like, you're so amazing. He was just trying to shield himself a little bit. They didn't say anything. Amrle, your ruse does not work. What did they say? Everybody knows why the rain happened. It's because of you. All of a sudden, we show up at your door and it starts raining. We know you davened. Ella, now that we're here, we have a whole host of questions to ask you, Rabbi Phil Karesh, about the last 25 lines of Gemara because none of it makes sense. So here's what they said. We want you to tell us a couple of things that we have questions about. First of all, when we said Shalom Aleichem, why didn't you greet us b'sever panim yafos? Says the Gemara 2 lines before the wide lines. Amar lahu schir yom havoy. I was rented for the day. I was a worker. Ve'amina lo ifkar. I could not be interrupted. A real halachic issue. You're hired to work 8 hours. You work 6 hours. You're a ganev. So he didn't want it. He just okay, Shalom Aleichem. He just kept moving, but it wasn't b'sever panim yafos. It's not time for a whole conversation. Good, fine. They got their answer. My taima dara mar tzivi achad katfe. The glima achad katve. Why is it that you carried the wood and the tools on one shoulder, and then you carried on your other shoulder the coat? Amar lahu, he says to them, talis she'ula haisa. The clothing that I had, the glima, that was a talis she'ula that was borrowed from someone. I had to return it as it was, and I couldn't put the wood on top. It'll get all covered and splintered. Lahachi shali. I borrowed it for one purpose. Lahachi lo shali, but I didn't borrow it for a different purpose. So I have to make sure that I don't ruin it. Okay, first long line. My time. Why is it that as you walked home you didn't wear your shoes? But when you got to water, you did. He said he didn't like to wear down his shoes. Very efficient about his shoes. So Omar Louis said to them, when I'm walking and I can see the ground, I can see the ground. I don't need to put on shoes. I know where not to step. But b'maya in the water, I have no idea what's under the water. Loka chazina, I can't see. Okay, next question. My time. Why is it that when it came to the thorns and thistles that you pulled up your tunic and you didn't just let them get cut? Why bother letting your legs get cut? My legs, they'll heal up on their own. But the tunic, if it tears up, what am I going to do? The threads are going to pull. It's going to ruin the whole thing. I'd rather cut up my legs a little bit. They'll heal in a couple of days and everything will be fine. Okay, another question. 3 lines into the wide lines. My time. Why is it that when we got to your house, your wife was all dressed up? She looked so chashav. She looked so beautiful. She was very sensitive. She wanted to be the person that he looked at, and she didn't want him to look at other people, and he didn't want to look at other people. So that was how they arranged their marriage. My time. Why is it that when everybody went into the house, she went first, and then you, Rabbi Phil Karesh, went in Abasra after her, and then and then we were last. I don't know who you are. I don't know. I don't know anything about you guys. So who says that you're Yasher people? No clue at all. 5, 6 lines into the wide lines. My time. Why is it that when you started the meal, why didn't you invite us to eat? I mean, come on, these are like ABCs. Avram Avinu opened on 4 sides. Why can't you offer us some bread? He said, what do you want me to do? He said, Mishum delo nefishi rifta. I didn't have enough bread for everybody. Halach al-maisa, right? You're going to have a meal with someone. You have enough bread. You don't have enough bread to give everyone a kazais. They can't even bench. It's not a suda. So that he didn't have enough bread. I'm not gonna give this false claim. Oh, everybody come eat. There's enough bread. I'm gonna lie to you. There's enough bread. I don't have any more than this. That's what there is. My time of you, Mar. Another question. Rabbi, why is it Mar that for your older child you gave chada, rifta, ulazutra tray, and for your younger one you gave more? He says, what do you know about my family? Amar lahu, hi kai bebesa. The older one was in the house the whole day. He works from home. Zoom culture. He's sitting there. He can eat out of the snack cabinet all day. When it comes time to eat, he doesn't need as much food as the others. My younger 2 kids are still sitting in kollel. My younger kids are sitting in kollel. When they come home, they're going to be hungry. They have no food there. Next question. My time kadim siluk anane mehach zevisa de havas kaima de bisu de marla anona today. Why is it that when you and your rebbitzin went on to, they're watching everything? They got binoculars. They see everything. Your wife goes up to the roof. She starts davening, and her tefillas are more powerful than yours. Why? So says the Gemara, powerful answer. Mishum de itza. He said in regards to my wife, shchicha bebesa. She's home raising the kids. The yava rifta le'aniye. She actually gives bread to poor people, and that brings them a special hana. The ana, when I give tzedakah, when I do chesed, yehivna zuza, I give them money. And then it's like an added step. When we give $1 to someone, they have to go buy something with that. But when you give them a warm piece of bread, your mom is servicing them directly. It's a higher level, and therefore her tefillos were niskabel more, big musar. her tefillos were niskabel more because she actually gave them something usable. I remember as a little kid, we used to do deliveries. My mom used to take us for deliveries. We'd bring a full Shabbos meal to people's homes, the elderly, the infirm, whoever it was, full meals. That's a higher level of tzedakah than writing a check, of actually providing them food. The Rambam, of course, delineates famously the various levels of them. I don't know how this plays in, but the Rambam does discuss that. In this context of the Gemara, Rabbi Phil Karesh and his wife, he was on a lower level, in quotes, of course. I'm not on a lower level because his wife actually gave food and he only gave zuzah. Iname, or his wife was chashiv for another reason. Hanu bir Yuni, there were some troublemakers that havu b'shiva vusan in our neighborhood, and I didn't want him to cause any trouble. What? Anna. So what did Abba Chilkiah do? By rachme dilimusu. I davened that they should die. Okay, this is straight up. Okay, davened that they should die. Vihi, my wife, she's a little bit less strict than I am. Baya rachame delehadru b'tiyufsa. She davened that they should do tshuva. Ve'ahadru, and they did. She's much holier than I am, says Abba Chilkiah. And Abba Chilkiah's power of tefillah was remarkable. The cool part here is that she overrode his tefillah. Think about that. Because everything he davened for, he got. He davened they should die. She said, no, I davened they should do tshuva. And she won. Her tefillah is more powerful. So head to head, Abba Chilkiah versus his wife, the clouds are showing up on her side. Because when she talks, he listens. Capital H. Next. Chanan Hanechba, this is his name. Chanan Hanechba, the hidden one. We'll see why. Bar Birate de Choni HaMagel Hava, another grandchild of Choni. This is a yichus. Another grandchild of Choni HaMagel. We're about 20 lines from the bottom of the page. We'll be stopping on the last line of the page. Ki mitzrich alma lemitra, when they needed rain, have a mishajer rabbanan yunuka debei rav legabe. They would send the little kids, and they would all hold on to his clothes. When nakte lebishi pule glimi, they would hold on to the hem of his clothes. The amrule, Abba, havlan mitra. Could you imagine this beautiful scene of emotion? All the little kids from Gan, they run over to Hanan and they hold on to wearing a long tunic. They say, Abba, could you bring the rain? Like this beautiful, pure child who knows that Abba, lowercase a, capital A, who's bringing the rain? So how does Hanan spin this? Hanan HaNechba says, Amar lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu Ribono Shel Olam. Asay, you should make it rain bishvil elu for these she'ein makirin bein abba de yoiv mitra la abba de lo yoiv mitra. They don't even know the difference between the father who can bring rain, capital Father F, right, and the father who can't bring. They don't even know. And the Sfarim write that this is how someone should daven like a child. When you're a little child, all you know about is your father. You know nothing else. Your father and your mother, they are everything when you're a kid. If you say yes, they're happy. You say no, there's no other portal for them. As we get older, we think we become more autonomous and less dependent. It's not true. We're just as dependent now as we were then. So to daven as a child is godless. To daven to a Kadosh Baruch Hu now as tzebrachen, as the child would be when you say no to the dessert and no to the thing that they want, that is real tefillah. Anyways, that's what he says. Okay, good. And that hopefully helped. The Gemara doesn't say what the conclusion was. But that was how Hanan davened. Why did they call him Hanan HaNechba? He said that when he was in the bathroom, he was constantly covered, obviously enough to go to the bathroom, but he was otherwise constantly covered. Of course, Shulchan Aruch discusses this tefach mibifnim and tefachim me'achora. There's halachos about these things, but one should try and keep themselves as covered as possible. There were no people in the bathroom. When we go to the bathroom, the halacha is we go by ourselves and we close the door. It's a good chinuch for children, and close the door. It's private. It's not inappropriate. It's just private. The door stays closed. This is tznius in the bathroom. It's among the reasons we don't talk in the bathroom. Amar le Rav Zrika Rav Safra. Rav Zrika says to Rav Safra, Tachazi, ma bein tkife de Ar Yisrael. I want to show you about the strong ones from Eretz Yisrael, Chasidei de Bavel, versus the pious ones from Bavel. Chasidei de Bavel, Rav Huna v'Rav Chizda, the pious ones of Bavel, who were Rav Huna and Rav Chizda, Kav Mistarech Alma Lemitra, when they needed rain. Amar, they said, Nichnif Hadad, let's come together, B'nei Bayrachame, together, the two of us. Afshar, maybe with the two of us together, the Mirtzeh HaKadosh Baruch Hu the Mitra. And maybe together, the rain will start falling. Tkife de Ara de Yisrael, Kigon Reb Yona Avua de Reb Mani. What about the greats of Eretz Yisrael? Kiava Mitzrich Alma Mitra, when they needed rain, Hava Aya Lebe, say they'd go home. The Amar Lehu, he'd say to his family, Havuli go Alki, give me a little bit of spending money. The Ezel Va'isi Le Bezuza Ibura, I'm gonna go buy some food from the market. He have enough livra when he would go out into the marketplace. Azil the Koi Beduchta Amikta. I would go down to a very, very physically deep place. Dichsiv, Mimamakim kirasicha Hashem, that I daven from the depths? Or is it a physically deep place? Maybe mimamakim kirasicha Hashem is not physical at all. Maybe it is conceptual and metaphysical. And this is a raya to this idea. And I was standing in a modest place. I thought you just said you were standing be'amikta. So maybe the amikta is really spiritual, and this bitzniya is a different one. I wore sackcloth. This is how they did it in Eretz Yisrael. But then when they got home, they never ended up using the money. So ki haba asi lebesi, they'd say, Amr le aisi mar ibura, show me what you bought from the marketplace. Amr lu amina, once I saw the rain, hol va'asa mitra, hashta ravach alma. No, the prices are going to go down because once the rain comes up, the market's going to fluctuate. It's like insider trading. You know exactly when to shop because you're the one who causes the rain. So you're going to the market, you're going to dive, and you're not going to buy because in 3 days, the prices are all going to drop. I'd rather shop in 3 days than today because the rain came, so there's a new crop that's growing now. The Su, and furthermore, Rabbi Mani, Rabbi Mani, his son. We're talking about the person from Eretz Yisrael, and his name was Rabbi Yonah. Rabbi Yonah was the father of Rabbi Mani. So Rabbi Mani, the son of Rabbi Yonah, he was being bullied by the Beit Nesiah, by this group of people. So he lies down on his father's grave, and Omar le Abba Abba Hani Mitzari. These people are really giving me a rough time. So Yom Echad, this group of people who was bothering him, the Beit Nesiah, and they were driving by in a horse and buggy. Inkut Karadisus Vasaihu, and he made it from the grave. He made it that the feet of the horse would get stuck in the ground. Ad kabilu alayhu, until they accepted upon themselves to look they looked at the grave. They saw and they said, "Oh my gosh, this is Rabbi Yonah, and his son is the son that we've been shepherding and stealing all of his lunch money. We better stop bothering him." So, and they did. The Su, and furthermore, Rabbi Mani have a shchiach kamed Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elyashiv. Rabbi Mani, again the son of Rabbi Yonah, was in front of Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elyashiv, Amar le, Asiri de Beichami Kamitsaruli, the wealthy people of Beichami, of my could be my father-in-law's house, they're all bothering me. Amar le Anu, so he said that they should be poor. V'iyanu, they became poor. Amar Kadachkuli, oh, they're so poor, they keep knocking on my door. Amar le Asri, he said they should become wealthy. Unbelievable powers of tefillah. V'yasri, they became wealthy again. 4 lines from the bottom. Amar lo mikbeli alai inshi besi. It is not acceptable upon me, the people of my house. So this is code word. What does this mean? Take a look at Rashi, 8 lines from the bottom where Tos was on the inner margin, where Rashi normally is. Rashi says, my wife is no longer beautiful. Says the Gemara, Amar le Maishma, what's her name? So Chana, her name is Chana. So he said a tefillah, Tisyafi Chana, she should become beautiful, Vinisyape, she became beautiful. All of a sudden, she became the biggest balas gaiba. Amar le, you made her too beautiful. Ka megandra alai. What does that mean? Take a look at Rashi. 6 lines from the bottom of the Rashis. Miska megandra. Miska delas alai. She's become so great on me. Mitoch gab, so beautiful. You're not the good-looking one anymore. A little bit of a turn of events. So says the Gemara. Amar le, hachi tachzor chana l'shacharisa. She should go back to her blackened self. She should go back to her less beautiful self. B'chazor chana l'shacharisa, and so it was. She became less beautiful. Last story for the night. Hanhu Trey Talmidei Habu Kamed Rabbi Yitzchak ben Elyashiv. There were 2 students who were in the shiur of Rabbi Elyashiv, and Amrulei Ne'abre Mar Rachame Alan Denichkem Tuva. Can you please give us a bracha that we should be wise? Amar Luhu, he said to them, Imi Haisa. It used to be that I had that power of davening, but Vishlachte, seemingly I lost it. Take a look at in the last Rashi, the last full Rashi on the page. It used to be the case that whatever I would daven for, I would get. I've lost some of my power. We'll stop right here. Pick up tomorrow night at 8:40 with Rabbi Yossi, the bottom line of Chav Gimel Amud Beis. And again, tomorrow night a shiur, and then Tuesday morning a shiur right after the early Shacharis. And I'll post the rest of the schedule. Wishing you all a beautiful night.
Tomorrow morning,